Okay, this is Algebra 2 study guide for test number 2 through sections 1.4. 1.4 was equations with variables on both sides. Number 1 says what percent equals 0.69? What percent equals 0.69? If you are changing a percentage into a decimal, you move the decimal over 2 times to the left. If you're changing a decimal into a percent, you just move it 2 times to the right. So 69%, A is an apple. 2 says combine these, simplify these by combining like terms. 4c minus 4d plus 8c minus 3d. So we have c's and we got d's. 4c, that's positive 4c and positive 8c. When we put those two together, we get 12c. And negative 4d, the sign goes with the number that it's in front of. Negative 4d and negative 3d. Combine those two gives you negative 7d. So 12c minus 7d, B. 3, negative 3 times negative 4y plus 3 plus 7y. You have to distribute negative 3 first. Negative 3 times negative 4y. Negative times a negative is a positive 12y. Negative 3 times positive 3 is minus 9 plus 7y. Then you combine your like terms. 12y and 7y gives you 19y minus 9. 19y minus 9a. Solving this equation, you got variables on both sides. Put your smaller y over to your larger y side. 2 is smaller than 3, so subtract positive 2y. If you subtract it on the right, subtract left. If you subtract it on the right, subtract it on the left. That leaves you with 1y plus 20 equals 3, and these cancel each other out. Since you put y on the left side, put everything else on the right side. Subtract 20 from the left. Do the same on the right. It leaves you with y equals, because these will cancel, 3 minus 20 is negative 17. D. 5 says negative 5y minus 9 equals negative y minus 1. This acts like a negative 1 right here. You have to distribute. Negative 1 times y is negative y. Negative 1 times negative 1 is positive or plus 1. Again, move your smaller y over to your bigger y. So let's move negative 5y over to the negative y side. Undo negative or minus 5y by adding it. If you add it to the left, add it to the right. Negative y plus 5y is 4y plus 1. These will cancel out and leave you with, don't forget the negative that goes in front of 9. You moved y to the right side, move the plus 1 over to the left side. Subtract plus 1 to do the inverse operation. You do it on the right, do the same on the left. Negative 9 minus 1 is negative 10 equals 4y, and 1 plus 1 will cancel each other out. This says 4 times y. Undo 4 times y by dividing by 4. If you divide the right by 4, divide the left by 4, and you're left with y equals negative 10 over 4, which when you look at your answer choices up here, 4 goes into 10 2 times, and there's 2/4 left over, which is 1/2. So negative 2.5, or B, negative 2.5. 6 times x minus 0.8 minus 0.02 times 5x minus 4 equals 6. Distribute 6. So 6 times x is 6x. 6 times 0.48, negative 0.48 will be a negative. 6 times 8 is 48. And we have to move that decimal over 1 time. So it becomes negative 4.8. Negative 0.2 times, and we have to distribute the same thing. We're going to distribute negative 0.2 times 5x. 2 times 5 is negative 10x, but we have to move that decimal over 1 time, so it becomes negative 1x. Do the same thing with 0.2 times negative 4. Negative times the negatives will be a positive. 4 times 2 is 8, but we have to move the decimal over 1 time. Combine all of your like terms. 6x can combine with negative 1x, and you get 5x. Negative 4.8 can combine with positive 0.8, and you get negative 4. You have 5x on the left side, so move negative 4 over to the right by adding 4. If you add it to the left, add it to the right side. 5x is on the left. These will cancel. 6 plus 4 is 10. Get rid of 5 times something by dividing by 5. You do it to the left, do it to the right. They'll cancel and leave you with x equals 2. D. 7 says negative 3 equals x over 8 or divided by 8 minus 2. Remember, you work, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, when you're simplifying something, but when you're undoing something, you work backwards. Undoing something, you work backwards. So we have addition and subtraction we got to take care of first. Get rid of minus 2 by adding it. If you add it to the right, add it to the left. Negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1 equals x over 8. These two will cancel out. That says x divided by 8. Undo divide by 8 by multiplying by 8. Multiply to right, multiply to left. 8 times negative 1 is negative 8 equals, these will cancel out, leave you with x. X is negative 8. B. 8 says 9 plus 8n equals 41. Your n's or your variables are on the left side, move everything else to the right side. So if we look at 9 plus 8n equals 41, this is a positive or plus 9, so subtract it. If you subtract the left, subtract the same on the right. These will cancel and leave you with 8n equals 41 minus 9. You take 1 away from it and then 8 more and you get 32. So you have 8 times n equals 32. Undo, multiply by 8 by dividing by 8. Do the same to the right. N equals 4. That's D. 9, you have 4 times y plus 4 equals 36. Distribute 4 to both terms. 4 times y is 4y. 4 times 4 is plus 16 equals 36. Again, work backwards. Undo plus 16 by subtracting. If you subtract the left, subtract the right. You're left with 4y on the left. These will cancel out. Equals 4y equals 24. 4 times y, undo that by dividing, undo multiplication by dividing by 4. Divide the left, do the same on the right. These will cancel, leave you at y equals 24 divided by 4 is 6. C. Number 10 says solve the equation for the indicated variable. So you have s equals 5 r squared t. Solve for t. So that means you want to get t by itself. So at the end of the problem, you want it to say t equals all by itself. So this says 5 times r squared times t. Undo multiply by this by dividing by everything that's not t. So everything that's not t on the right side is 5r squared. If you divide the right by 5r squared, you do the exact same thing to the left, 5r squared. Notice this will cancel out and leave you with just t. That's what we're looking for. So t equals s over 5r squared. T equals s over 5r squared, D. 11 says t equals 2u over e. Solve for u. So you have t equals 2u over e. You're trying to get u by itself at the end. Get rid of divide by e. You have to cancel that one out first. Multiply by e. If you multiply the right side by e, do the same to the left. Now you have e times t equals, these will cancel out, 2 times u. Still don't have u by itself. You have to undo 2 times something by dividing by 2. Divide the right, do the same to the left. Et divided by 2, or e times t over 2, is equal to, these will cancel out, leave you with just u by itself. So u equals et or te. Notice t times e is the same thing, over 2. Number 12 says simplify negative 5 plus 4 squared times 3 minus 5 cubed. Do what's inside parentheses first. And while you're inside parentheses, you still follow your order of operations. So negative 5 plus 4 squared becomes negative 5 plus 4 times 4, which is 16. Then do what's inside parentheses on the second set of parentheses. 3 minus 5 is negative 2. That's still cubed. So now you follow your order of operations again. Make sure you simplify what's inside parentheses. Negative 5 plus 16 is positive 11. And negative 2 to the third power would be negative 2, written out here, negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. We know a negative times a negative is a positive, times one more negative will make it negative again. And since it's negative, it'll be times negative 8. And 11 times negative 8 is negative 88b. Solve bx plus cy equals Okay, number 13 says solve bx plus cy equals d for x. So at the end of this one, we want x by itself. So bx plus cy equals d. You have to undo everything that's not x. So anything we want x equals all by itself. So remember, you work backwards through your order of operations. Instead of PEMDAS, you work SADMEP. So we have something adding and subtracting to x right now, plus cy. So subtract cy. You subtract cy on the right, do the same thing on the left. They're not like, I'm sorry, on the left, do the same thing on the right. They're not like terms. The best you can do, now you have bx on the left, these cancel out. The best you can do is just write them next to each other, d minus cy. The last step you have to do, that says b times x, undo multiply by dividing. We want to keep x, so divide by b. If you divide the left, do the same thing to the right, divide by b. These will cancel, leaves you with x equals d minus cy over b. Fourteen says sales tax in one state's 9%. What's the amount of tax on a $30.95 purchase? Remember what you have to do with 9%. You want to multiply by it, but you have to move the decimal that's right here invisible over one spot, two spots, and it becomes 0.09. So you're going to multiply by 0.09. So $30.95 times 0.09. So 9 times 5 is 45. 9 times 9 is 81, plus 4 is 85. 9 times 0 is 0, plus 8 is 8. 9 times 3 is 27. And in your decimals, you got 1, 2, 3, 4. So you got to move the decimal 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. So your tax on $30.95 is $2.78.5, which is 5 makes it round up to $2.79 as your tax. Say we're simplifying 7 over 8 plus 1 over 6. Your bottom number has to be the same. The least common denominator that they both go into, you have 8, 16, 24. They both go into 24. So we're going to change both of the fractions bottoms of both of those denominators to 24. What do you have to multiply 8 by to get 24? The number's 3. So you have to multiply 7 times the same 3. You get 21 at the top. What do you have to multiply 6 by to get 24? The answer's 4. So you multiply 1 by the same 4, and you get 4. So 21 over 24 plus 24 over 24, now you have the bottom number the same, 24. Add straight across. 21 plus 4 is 25. There's no number that goes into both 25 and 24, so that's simplified at 25 over 24. Negative 2 plus negative 3. Here we go. Think of a number line if you have to. Start at negative 2. If you start at negative 2, you're adding a negative 3. That's the same thing as negative 2 minus 3. But you know that minus or negative numbers are this way, so go 1, 2, 3 more times, and that's negative 5. Or add the absolute values and keep the common sign if that's an easier way for you to remember it, which is for some people it is. Negative 8 times negative 4. Negative times a negative is going to be a positive 32. 8 times 4. 18, negative 25 divided by 5. Opposite terms now. Anytime they're opposite, it's going to come out to be negative, and 25 divided by 5 is 5. 19 says to divide these. You don't have to have common denominators to divide, but you do need to change the second fraction, change division to multiplication, and flip the second fraction and make it 6 over 3, and then multiply straight across. 2 times 6 is 12. 3 times 3 is 9. The number 3 goes into both. It goes into 12 4 times, and it goes into 9 3 times. 4 over 3. 1 over 7 divided by 9 over 21, same thing. Keep your first fraction the same. Change division to multiplication. Flip your second fraction. 21 over 9. You can cross cancel if you recognize this. The number 7 goes into both 7 and 21. Times itself is 1, and times 3 is 21. Multiply straight across. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 9 is 9. We still have to simplify. The 3 goes into both of them. 3 times 1 is 3, and 3 times 3 is 9. 21 says write 336 miles in 11.2 hours as a rate in simplest form. Well, rate equals distance over time. So we don't know what our rate is, but we do know we have a distance measurement, 336 miles, and we do know that we have a time measurement, 11.2 hours. So all we're going to do is plug those values in, 11.2 hours and 336 miles in place of time and distance respectively. We don't know what our rate is, but that's what we're finding out. So 336 divided by 11.2 is 30. So our rate equals 30, and we don't do anything to cancel out miles per hour, so miles per hour. 22 says solve T equals V over Q for Q. Again, we want to move everything that's not Q. So we have V over Q. We have to get Q from inside the denominator. So that says divide by Q. Undo that by multiplying by Q. Undo that by multiplying by Q. Do the same on the left. That's Q times T on the left now equals these will cancel and give you V. We still don't have Q by itself. Do the inverse of multiply by T and divide by T. If you divide the left by T, do the same on the right. Q equals V over T. That's Q by itself.